Okay, so I'm sat here with Dean and Polly Fryer-Saxby, and this is their last Sunday with us here at Hope Church, and we just thought we'd grab them for a quick chat, just to hear a little bit about what the next phase of their adventure looks like, I guess. So to begin with, do you want to just tell us about what's happening? So you're going to Cardiff. How did that come about, and what's the plan?
So the truth is it came about quite by surprise, but obviously not a surprise to God, a surprise to us. We caught up with friends of mine for the last 25 years over my special birthday weekend last year, and heard that they were moving to Cardiff to plant a church. Now, at the time, we just joked and said, oh, we love church planting. Wouldn't it be funny if we end up here? But actually, I did not mean it seriously at all. But it has to be said that sowed a very little seed that actually then God probably watered, germinated and grew over quite a long time. So over about a 9-month period of just thinking things through and hearing God.
Yeah, so really it started back in November when we felt God was saying to us, ask him what he wants us to do in the next season. And we started praying, expecting it was just more and better in the same place. And what we've learned is that God does answer prayer, but answers it in a way you didn't expect, because actually what we felt was that I should resign from my job at Hope Church. That I did in March, and then over the next few months we were just wondering, oh, what are you saying to us, God? And we realised that in July, actually he was saying it was the end of our season in Luton, it was the end of our season at Hope Church. And so that just set us off on a journey. And we knew that we were called to go to the nations, because that's, I think everybody needs a default mindset of going, which doesn't always mean you necessarily have to move geographically. But we just felt we needed to do something new in the regions beyond, go to the nations, go to a new people group. And we knew we had these friends in Wales who are church planting in Cardiff. So we just thought, wow, that's a great opportunity. We'll go there.
That's great. So, I mean, just tell us a little bit about like the feelings kind of behind this at the moment. So obviously you've been part of Hope Church for the last kind of 16, 17 years. Obviously God's called, you're answering the call, you're going. But what does that feel like? Is there an internal struggle, or is it easy as you're sitting here smiling at me going, yeah, we're going?
It's really scary. So it's been a real shock to the system, because it's a real emotional wrench, leaving a church, a family where you've been for nearly 17 years, and you've grown so close to people because you've been into battle with them, you've been through difficult times and hard times. So that was quite emotionally hard. But also, I just kidded myself that once we made the faith steps of deciding to leave and move to Cardiff, that would be it. But actually, every time you make a step, you have to make another step and another step. And it's shown me that there's more fear in me than I ever thought possible. I didn't realise that I had that much fear in me, because the more you walk out of your depth, trusting on God, the more scary it gets. And you have to almost daily remind yourself of what God said and his promises, and just get faith from him and say, no, actually these promises are true. We can trust him. We don't have to panic and we don't have to fear.
It felt amazingly scary, because faith is scary. And when you hear God ask you to do something, and you know in your knower that you have heard the call to go, you know that he is talking to you in your quiet times and through what other people are saying to you in conversations, through what you're reading, through what you're seeing. You just know that he's sending you on a journey. So we knew that Cardiff was right. We absolutely knew to go, but it is scary. It is hard. But I think that applies to anything in life that is worth doing, because if something is easy to do, then it probably wasn't that much of a deal in the first place. So you have to accept that following God is not easy. Trusting in God is not easy. But there are clear passages in the Bible where it clearly points out that God has plans to prosper us, not to harm us. And although your emotions might be feeling scary and everything around you to other people's eyes might not be going quite right, actually God is a steadfast God who has a plan to prosper us, not to harm us. And it's not about us in our human eyes looking, oh, I thought he was going to do it this way, or I thought he was just going to do that. Actually, God has bigger plans than we can possibly imagine, and is leading us into a wider space and an opener space than we could imagine at the moment. There are things happening in the heavenlies that we will find out in 6 months' time. Oh, that's why it took so long to do that. But it is scary.
Yeah, and also it's really made me aware of how much we're dependent on God, and we've had to accept the fact that we can't do things in our own strength, that money in the bank or our own skill or isn't enough. We actually just need to learn to trust in God. In a sense also, like Polly was saying, of not praying too specifically, of being willing to just trust God that he's got an answer, but that his answer might be something that we never imagined or dreamed of. So just asking him to bless us, and trusting that the blessing will be good for us rather than telling God how to bless us.
Okay, and just share, so there's a few things obviously that still, it's not boom, boom, Luton, Cardiff. There's a few things that obviously need to fall into place for you guys over the next kind of couple of weeks and months. Do you want to just share those just so people can pray for you for those things?
So God has given us an amazing bungalow that we are renting. It's spacious. It's got everything that we put on the list of things that we wanted. It is in Cardiff. Dean and Cody are currently living there full time, whereas I leave Cardiff on a Sunday night at the moment and come back up to Luton to work Monday to Thursday, and then I get back in my car on a Thursday and go to Cardiff. So obviously the first prayer point is for a job for me in Cardiff. I've been an occupational therapist for nearly 30 years. I know the kind of job I want, and it's just praying that that right job will come up in the right team for the right number of hours without having to drive too far from Cardiff.
And also, the biggest thing, the second biggest thing is to sell our house. And so we're just trusting in God that it will sell. And we're also, while we're praying much harder than ever before for his help, we're also just thinking, right, let's go through all the list of everything we can do to make it sell or to solve the problem, like rent it, at the same time as trusting in God and asking him to sell it.
Okay, thank you. And just one last thing. So looking back on your 16, 17 years here, I'm sure there's plenty of things that you can take away from your time at Hope Church. And you mentioned earlier on that it very much feels like family and always will feel like family. If you could just pick one or two things, what are the key things that you would take away from being involved in Hope Church?
Well, for me, the thing that's really, really hit me, even today, is I've had lots of people come up to us and give us presents and cards and say, thank you so much for all you've done. And my instant sort of human response has been, what did we ever do for you? For many of them. And actually just thinking it through, just realising that over the last few years, we've just help people where we can by being ourselves, and that when you help people by being yourselves or bless people by being yourself, you don't really notice because you're just being yourself, and it doesn't feel like work because it's something that brings joy to you. But also for me, it felt some of the things that people have been grateful for to me felt so little and almost insignificant, but I guess they were just timed right in the big picture of God. So I think what it's taught me is not to belittle the seeds, the blessings that you can give to people, because actually they make a profound difference to people over the course of many years. So that's really, really hit me, and I've really learnt from that actually I'm just going to carry on giving and sowing wherever we can at what we're good at.
The church that we are now part of in Cardiff is called Emmanuel Church, a place to call home. And actually, that's amazing, because what I feel that Hope Church has done is taught us what that means in reality. Hope Church has been our home. Hope Church is a welcoming church, is a church that you can be yourself in, is a church that you can call home. And actually that's what we're going to take away, that I'd like to be able to replicate all of the qualities of being part of a family, of being part of a place that we did call home and will always call home, and to take that with us.
Great. Well, thank you very much for chatting with me briefly, but we look forward to hearing about what happens next and hearing stories from Cardiff and hopefully sometime visiting you as well, maybe. Thank you very much and speak to you soon.